So Val, it's really lovely to talk to you today.
Thank you.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you got into football?
Yeah, I started when I was 11 at junior school playing football. At that point in time, talking 53 years ago, there were hardly any girls that were playing football. I just thought it was a really nice way of keeping fit, keeping healthy. And me and another young woman decided to form a five-a-side team. And we played five-a-side for a number of years before we branched out into 11-a-side. But so I've been around the team, the original team, since 1969.
Wow, and what was your favourite position? What?
Well, I started out as a goalkeeper, really.
Right.
But I also played left wing, left of midfield, and ended my playing career at centre half. Best position on pitch.
Really? Yeah, that's the one you enjoyed most?
Yeah, because you can see everything in front of you.
Yeah.
You can anticipate, gamble where a little bit, but you can anticipate where the ball's going to be played and clear up. So I had the advantage of being a left-footed player, which there's still not that many of us around.
Yeah.
But I can play with both feet, really.
Yeah.
Or could.
Most school sports for girls would have been hockey, netball.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
football?
Well, where we grew up in Romarsh, we were surrounded by boys. So it was either, we had lots of boy friends, so it was either play whatever they was playing, or you were a bit isolated, a bit left out, really. So,
And obviously, five-a-side, you were almost ahead of your generation, weren't you? Because there would have been lots of touches, you would have been very involved.
Yeah. It is a faster game playing five-a-side. And the place where we used to play it is no longer there. We used to play on Romarsh Baths. At Romarsh Baths, we used to put boards down on Romarsh Baths themselves, and that's where we played as football. And it was quite a great way of getting into sport, really.
Yeah.
Especially at that age as well. But I was always more sporty than academic. I wouldn't, I'd rather be out playing football than doing homework.
Yeah, okay. And other hobbies and things, I mean, would you say that you were a girly girl?
No, I was always a tomboy, but I think that was mainly because I was growing up around boys.
Yeah.
I got an older brother who I looked up to. We used to go to Rotherham matches, Rotherham United men's matches, and he was 6'4", my sister's 5 foot. And he'd be striding along and we'd be trying to keep up with him. But yeah, it's been my life, still is, unfortunately.
Okay, so talk me through that transition then from the five-a-side to the 11-a-side and maybe getting more into serious football.
Yeah, it started out as a local league, a Sheffield league. We were one of only a very few female teams, but did very well. We used to play in South Yorkshire mainly, and it grew and grew, but not to the level that it is now. And as you get older, you want to play 11-a-side rather than five-a-side. I still played a bit of five-a-side, but mainly I went into 11-a-side. Yeah, really good.
And what did you do? Did you join an existing team or did you help?
No, that was it. That was the team. It moved from five-a-side to 11-a-side.
Okay.
And we started recruiting married women.
Yeah.
I was getting into my teens that by then.
Yeah.
A lot of females that wanted to play recreational football, I suppose, really. And then it became a bit more competitive. We started getting a bit of publicity because we did well. We started joining further afield sides into East Midlands, and it's just grown from there, really.
So I'm going to take you back to the early days then of your club, and just tell us what your club is.
It is now Rotherham United Women.
Yeah.
And it was, when it was originally formed, was Kilner's Shooting Stars. I don't know how we managed to get Shooting Stars, but we had his own badge made up, which was sort of wow,
Yeah.
We're going places with, the actual Shooting Star badge on. We played under various disguises. We went to a play. It depends on who would sponsor us, really.
Yeah.
And if they wanted us to change their name.
Yeah.
And then as women's football grew a little bit, and the men's FA wanted women to join, be affiliated to men's teams.
Yeah.
And they got a grant at Rotherham United, and we were the ones that were the forefront of women's football in the locality.
Yeah.
So they got the grant, and we got quite well treated for a couple of seasons.
Yeah.
And we stayed with them.
So going back to the early days then of Kilnhurst, because I find it a really interesting example, because obviously Women's Football Association formed in 1969. You were kind of in on the ground of that. I think there were only about 40 or 50 clubs when it was first formed.
Yeah.
So do you have memories of those very early days, what the admin was like and what it was like to... Yeah,
it was challenging, I've got to say, because we was a very small town, and we still are a small town, and to actually break through into the national game was going to be difficult for us.
Yeah.
But we did work his way up through the leagues, through local leagues, and then into East Midlands League, and we had a couple of seasons at the Midlands combination, as it was then.
Yeah.
But we had to jump through a lot of hoops to actually get to that point.
Yeah.
But I've been I've been around that long that we've had good secretaries along the way that has helped with that process.
Yeah.
A lot of the funding we've had to do ourselves, and as you get higher up in the leagues, you've got to have that financial backing.
Background.
Yeah.
So just talk me through that then. Talk me through some of the roles in the early days. I'm talking maybe the first 5 years, some of the roles that you played, because I often talk about women's football at this time as being a self-made culture. Yeah,
it was. Yeah. Well, at that time, obviously, I was playing. So I was playing up until I was 41 when I finished playing. I don't think people would play that long now. It's a far different game. It's far more physical, far more... you've got to be physically fit to do that.
Yeah.
But so basically I played until I was 41, so that'd take us to 69 to just into early 2000.
Yeah.
And then I became a coach. I did my badge.
Yeah.
I did my badges and took on the realm of manager when I was doing that a little bit before I finished playing. So I did that role as well, the coaching, recruitment of players, going out into local community and finding players. We tried to be very much a local side, so we regarded ourselves as a family club. We encourage girls from the area to play.
Yeah.
And part of my role was to do that, obviously, as a mentor for girls coming along. And then I went on to coach, manage, chair, and now I'm secretary. So I've done every role that you could possibly have. I've done it.
Yeah, it relies on volunteers, doesn't it, like you, as the absolute backbone of grassroots football.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important that we hear your story and get to know the kind of contribution that you've made.
I'm nearly 65. I've had a complete knee replacement. Struggling really nowadays, but would I change anything? No. Not one game, not 1 minute.
And just talk us through then some of the success stories in terms of the young players that you've brought through that.
Yeah, we've had girls that have come to us, like I said, that has been a bit of a rogue, bit roguish. We've turned them into nice young established women.
Yeah.
We've also had girls that has played for us, and some of the bigger teams like Doncaster Bells come along and took some of the girls. Some went to America when it was really the thing to do to try to develop their football. We had a young woman that went to live and work in Florida, We've had another one that went to America and then went to Iceland and then came back. We've had several players that have gone to play at a higher level, and we can't stop that. We've got to encourage girls from playing at our level to play at the best level that they can, and that's the ethos around our club.
Talk us through some of the kind of things you had to do to fundraise and get sponsorship.
Oh, do you know, some of the things are really, you see kids doing it now, and it's stuff that we had to do. Bagpacking at Asda used to make us a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, especially around sort of main areas, Christmas, and so we developed links with local supermarkets at the time. But it's all been through raffles and fundraising, and occasionally we've been sponsored. You know, we've got money, but a lot of it we've paid ourselves. You know, we've paid up to £250 to play.
Just talk me through, did football take you anywhere that you wouldn't have got to go otherwise? You know, did you do overseas tours? Did you? Yeah,
we did a tour in Benidorm. I can always remember we won the tournament. And one of the girls, everybody were back at the hotel and jumped in the pool, and she lost her medal at the bottom of the pool, which was in itself quite a feat to get it back out. We've been to America. We went to Florida and did a tournament out there, and were successful with that.
Yeah.
But it's the funding. You know, it wasn't as much as what it would be now.
Yeah.
But our junior sides are still go and do tournaments abroad.
Yeah.
Mainly in Spain. Mm-hmm. But the opportunities for girls now is a lot better, isn't it? So they're encouraged to go and spread the wings a little bit, aren't they? But yeah, those were the two main overseas tournaments that we went to and were really successful with. So it sticks in your mind.
Yeah, and then finally, as a fan of women's football, obviously, how were you able to watch many women's games over the years?
Well, disappointingly, Channel 4 was the forefront of women's football being shown on television. It was like you were in awe of people that could actually be managed and play at that level so that people could be seen. I've always followed women's football. Every single Sunday I spend most of my night on full time looking at all the different teams. Obviously because I played a lot, it restricted how much more that I could fit in.
Yeah.
And I've worked in social care, so I worked a lot of shifts back in those days, and was fortunate enough to have a good team around me work-wise. That would swap shifts. I'd be working 2 o'clock in the afternoon from 6 o'clock in the morning, and then going and playing, you know, and I'd be going from all the people I work with, so I'd be going from one age group back down to, you know, young women. It's been a good life.
Yeah, but you could almost say that your profession has sort of funded your football career rather than the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. and still is doing, believe it or not. You know, like I say, I buy equipment, I buy food, I buy, you know, whatever is needed to keep the girls happy.
Yeah.
That's the main thing, because they're only when you play, you're only interested in playing. Yeah. You're not interested in everything that goes off behind the scenes, you know, like registering players, and the old game system's been really challenging this year. But you know, it is what it is. When I played, that's all I wanted to do. I weren't bothered whether you went out and got a sponsor to pay for a kit.
Hopes for the Euros and aspirations?
Oh, well, obviously, yes. We want England to really do well. They've come close, haven't they?
Yeah.
I just hope they get that one step. I think it'll raise everybody's spirits, especially with, you know, the pandemic and what's happened for the last couple of years. It's been very bitty, the games, and really only half a season in 2 years. And so I think, you know, it would raise the spirits of the country if we actually get a winner. But locally, I hope that we get the crowds at our ground at New York Stadium and watch all the teams that are coming there. So, yeah, I can't wait. Yeah.
Thank you, Val.
No, it's nobody's. Thank you.